They want to call off the wedding.
Jessica jumped up from the chair, causing the lipstick in the makeup artist's hand to smear across the corner of her mouth. But she couldn't care less. Today was her wedding day. If anyone dared to mess with her, she would.
It seems to be your future mother-in-law.
The staff in the dressing room stammered, clearly startled by Jessica's sudden outburst. Jessica's eyes narrowed as she grabbed a tissue and wiped the lipstick from her mouth while walking out. She wanted to see what they were up to, calling off the wedding on this very day.
I said the wedding is off. Jessica is not good enough for my son.
Why isn't she good enough? Your Smith family is bankrupt, and you're saddled with debt. My son doesn't owe anyone anything. Why should he take on such a burden?
I'm not here to negotiate with your Smith family. I'm here to inform you. Return the $5,000 dowry my son Michael gave you, or I'll call the police and accuse you of fraud.
Jessica hadn't even reached the guest hall when she heard her future mother-in-law causing a scene from afar. Her voice was full of vigor, as if someone had harmed her son, and she was furious. Guests were gathered in small groups, whispering among themselves.
What are you making a scene for? If you want to make a fuss, at least choose the right occasion. Don't you know what day it is today?
She didn't want to be too harsh, hoping her future mother-in-law would have the sense to recognize the occasion and restrain herself.
Jessica, who do you think you're warning? There's no way you're marrying into the Johnson family. You're the daughter of a bankrupt family, and our family is clean. You're not good enough for my son Michael. Return the dowry, or this won't end well for you.
Mrs. Smith spoke with such conviction, her voice growing louder and her face brimming with smugness. Jessica couldn't help but laugh at her self-assured statements.
What are you laughing at?
Mrs. Smith was furious to see Jessica laughing instead of feeling embarrassed.
Why am I laughing? Because you're ridiculous. Haven't you heard the saying, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse? Even if the Smith family is bankrupt, it's still out of your Johnson family's league. And that $5,000 dowry was paid out of my own pocket. What right do you have to demand it back?
You're lying.
Mrs. Smith was caught off guard, but seeing Michael's indifferent expression, she quickly regained her confidence.
Jessica, don't think you can cheat us out of the dowry. You must return the $5,000 today.
Ignoring the madwoman, Jessica turned to Michael.
Do you think I should return it too?
Yes.
Fine, let's see how she deals with this. Without saying another word, I dragged the hem of my wedding dress and walked up to the stage where the MC stood.
Jessica, where are you going? You must. She hurriedly grabbed my arm, afraid I would run away.
You want the $5,000 so badly? Wait here, I'll give it to you right now. I said the last few words through gritted teeth and shook off her hand. Once on stage, I took a deep breath and glanced at Michael. This was his last chance. If he admitted it, if he stood up and said the wedding was still on, I would stop and not embarrass everyone. However, he said nothing, looking calm and detached, as if he was sure of his victory. Fine, this marriage has reached a point of no return, not because of me, but because of Michael and his family. They will regret it, not me. I now realize I might not be suitable for the Johnson family. When Michael and I got engaged, we almost broke up over the betrothal gift. His family couldn't afford it, and his mother didn't want to give it, thinking that my family was wealthy enough not to need it. How could my parents accept that? The betrothal gift, no matter how much, is a gesture of sincerity. It must be given. In the end, we were at an impasse. I liked Michael so much at the time that I paid it myself. Now, Michael not only didn't tell his mother about it, but she also came to ask for the money back, and he stood by, looking indifferent, as if it was only natural. They really took me, Jessica, for a fool. This wasn't just about taking money, it was outright robbery. Retracting my gaze from Michael's face, I projected our chat history onto the computer and displayed it on the big screen.
Jesse, I really don't have the money. Can't we just forget about the betrothal gift?
How can we forget it? No matter how much, it should be given. It's a matter of principle.
If that's the case, can you lend me some? I'll make sure to pay you back the $5,000 after we get married.
All right, since we'll be a family after marriage, it doesn't matter.
Below these chat records was my $5,000 transfer. The evidence was clear. The $5,000 was given to Michael by me. Let's see how they handle this now. Before Michael and his mother could react, the guests started buzzing. What was once whispered gossip turned into open discussion.
This Johnson family is shameless. They didn't want to give the betrothal gift, and it was the bride's family who paid it. Now, they have the nerve to ask for it back. They have no shame.
Exactly, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The groom knew the money was given to him, yet he lets his mother ask for it back. Are they that desperate? And they still have the nerve to look down on the bride.
Impossible. This must be Jessica's doing. Her face changed several times before she started to act shamelessly again. You must return the money.
I was so angry I laughed. This family had no shame. Just as I was about to retort, I was stunned by what happened next. As the tension in the banquet hall grew, voices filled the room.
Get lost, you shameless family.
Exactly, demanding something that isn't yours. Why don't you just rob people on the street?
Various small items started flying through the air, all aimed at Michael and his mother. Vegetables, meats, and more landed on them, covering them in food.
I stood at the podium, not moving, thoroughly enjoying the farce unfolding before me.
Jessica reflected on her past, feeling a mix of regret and realization.
Isn't it just a farce? I, Jessica, have been pampered since childhood and have seen many grand scenes. Yet, Michael's few sweet words deceived me. I didn't see through his poor acting skills and even fell for him.
Mistaking a fisheye for a pearl, she thought she had found true love. But now she realized Michael was probably after her money from the start. As soon as he heard rumors of her family's financial troubles, he immediately wanted to break off the engagement.
Jessica, you just wait. I won't let you off.
Mrs. Smith, amidst the food assault, looked very disheveled. In the end, she couldn't withstand the crowd and prepared to flee.
I'll be waiting for you not to let me off.
Jessica looked at Michael's eyes filled with hatred.
Hate me? I hate you too. I used to love you and naturally went along with you in everything. But that doesn't mean I'm a pushover. Now that we've torn off the facade, let's make sure no one has it easy.
Jessica's parents wrapped up the farce, constantly apologizing to the guests and relatives, making her feel uncomfortable. The villa her parents bought for her and Michael was no longer necessary. Since Michael and his mother claimed her family was bankrupt, she decided to sell the villa to ease their financial pressure. The next day, when Jessica opened the villa door, she felt her anger surge to the top of her head.
What are you still doing here?
The mother and son who had demanded the betrothal money the day before were now comfortably lounging on the living room sofa, eating the food Jessica had stocked in the fridge.
What do you mean? What are we doing here? This is our home. I should be asking you why you're here.
Your home? Is this your home? Who paid for it? You shameless mother and son must know that, right?
Jessica threw her bag on the sofa and crossed her arms, waiting to see how they would respond.
Jessica, who are you calling shameless? This house belongs to my mother and me. We've been living here, and you can't take it away.
Hearing the biggest joke, Jessica didn't say much and directly made a phone call. Jessica stood her ground, her eyes filled with a mix of anger and defiance.
Haven't you heard the saying, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse? Even if the Smith family is bankrupt, it's still out of your Johnson family's league. She stepped closer to Mrs. Smith, her eyes mocking. And that $5,000 dowry was paid out of my own pocket. What right do you have to demand it back?
You're lying. She was caught off guard but quickly regained her confidence upon seeing Michael's indifferent expression. Jessica, don't think you can cheat us out of the dowry. You must return the $5,000 today.
Ignoring her, Jessica turned to Michael.
Do you think I should return it too?
Yes.
Jessica's eyes narrowed. Fine, let's see how I deal with you. After speaking, I turned and picked up my bag, took out the property deed, and provocatively glanced at Michael and his mother before handing it to Officer Johnson. When it comes to matters like property, I wouldn't just rely on words. Michael and his mother might be all talk and no action, but I'd deal in evidence. From the start, I knew they wouldn't leave easily. Even with the property deed, they might try to snatch it away. Although I could use bank payment records to prove the house was mine, why let them take the deed when there's a simpler way to prove them wrong? I wanted to keep it hidden and then watch them get humiliated.
How is this possible?
Michael and his mother murmured in disbelief, staring at the document in Officer Johnson's hand. If it weren't for the fact that he was a police officer, they might have tried to grab it.
Since this property deed proves the house belongs to Miss Jessica, you need to vacate immediately.
No way, this is our house. We won't leave.
Mrs. Smith's face changed constantly, but she was very agitated. Of course, a large villa like this is worth a lot. It was practically theirs, and now it was slipping away. Anyone would be upset, especially someone who loves money so much. She must be feeling devastated right now. I leisurely watched the shameless mother and son, waiting for their disgraceful exit.
We won't leave, absolutely not.
If you refuse to leave, it will be considered trespassing, which is illegal.
But we've been living here.
Just because you've been living here doesn't make it yours. If you lived on the street, would that street belong to you?
After mocking the old woman, I turned to Michael.
Your mother doesn't understand, but you do, right? Oh, I forgot, you do understand. You just want to take someone else's property. But it's not yours. You can't just take it. Leave now, or I might demand compensation for the wear and tear caused by your stay. Do you have the money to pay? A man who couldn't even afford the betrothal gift?
No.
Seeing Mrs. Smith still struggling, my patience ran out. I frowned and looked away.
Officer, please make them leave. They are seriously affecting my life.
If you don't leave, you'll have to come with us.
We'll leave right away.
Michael and his mother quickly started packing, realizing they might be taken to the station. I touched the marks on my face and said nothing. Michael, just wait. I'll repay this slap one day. I stepped closer to Mrs. Smith, my eyes mocking. Haven't you heard the saying, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse? Even if the Smith family is bankrupt, it's still out of your Johnson family's league. And that $5,000 dowry was paid out of my own pocket. What right do you have to demand it back?
You're lying.
Mrs. Smith was caught off guard, but seeing Michael's indifferent expression, she quickly regained her confidence.
Jessica, don't think you can cheat us out of the dowry. You must return the $5,000 today.
Ignoring the madwoman, I turned to Michael.
Do you think I should return it too?
Yes.
Fine, let's see how I deal with you. The tension in the room was palpable as I stepped closer to Mrs. Smith, my eyes filled with a mocking glint.
Haven't you heard the saying, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse? Even if the Smith family is bankrupt, it's still out of your Johnson family's league. And that $5,000 dowry was paid out of my own pocket. What right do you have to demand it back?
Mrs. Smith was momentarily taken aback, but quickly regained her composure upon seeing Michael's indifferent expression.
You're lying. Jessica, don't think you can cheat us out of the dowry. You must return the $5,000 today.
Ignoring her, I turned to Michael.
Do you think I should return it too?
Yes.
Fine, let's see how I deal with you. In the grand living room of the Smiths' mansion, tension brewed like a storm.
Haven't you heard the saying, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse? Even if the Smith family is bankrupt, it's still out of your Johnson family's league. Jessica stepped closer to Mrs. Smith, her eyes mocking. And that $5,000 dowry was paid out of my own pocket. What right do you have to demand it back?
You're lying. Mrs. Smith was caught off guard, but seeing Michael's indifferent expression, she quickly regained her confidence. Jessica, don't think you can cheat us out of the dowry. You must return the $5,000 today.
Ignoring the madwoman, Jessica turned to Michael.
Do you think I should return it too?
Yes.
Jessica's eyes narrowed as she prepared to deal with the upcoming challenge. This trouble was caused by that persistent mother and son duo. I thought they were just moving out, but upon returning, I found out that Michael and his mother weren't just moving, they were practically dismantling the house.
On the surface, everything seemed in place, but when I opened the wine cabinet, I found a lot of wine missing.
At first, I thought someone had broken in and stolen the wine while I was away and was about to contact the property management. But then I remembered what Mr. Smith had said before I left and the previous incident where they demanded the return of the betrothal gift. Michael and his mother were highly suspicious, so I quickly checked the surveillance footage.
Sure enough, it was them. Did they think I was a fool and wouldn't notice?
I am someone who would replace even a single missing bottle, let alone so many. Unless I was blind, I couldn't have missed it. Moreover, taking 1 or 2 bottles might be forgivable, but they took more than half of the wine cabinet. Each bottle of wine is worth $5,000, and with so many bottles gone, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. If I don't teach them a lesson, they might think I'm a charity. I took out my phone and unblocked Michael's number.
Michael, I thought your mother just had a simple love for money. I didn't expect her to be so dishonest, taking what she couldn't get openly. Are you trying to play you can't eat it, but you have to take it with me?
Jessica, are you crazy? Who are you calling dishonest? Show some respect. I haven't even settled the online matter with you yet.
Ha, you have the nerve to settle accounts with me? Let me settle this. Your mother took so much of my wine while moving. Do you know how much it's worth? Can you afford to pay for it?
What are you talking about? I don't understand.
Judging by your guilty tone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Does your mother not know that taking things without permission is illegal? Or do you not know either? I suggest you return it quickly, or I'll make sure you face the consequences.
I'm not guilty of anything. We won't admit to something we didn't do. Are you trying to extort money from me because your family is going bankrupt and you can't pay your debts? Let me tell you, Jessica, you won't get a penny from me. Otherwise, I'll have you invited for tea by the authorities.
Michael's shamelessness was astounding. In just a minute, he had processed the situation and even had the audacity to threaten me.
He sure knows how to turn the tables. I, Jessica, have always been a privileged and smooth-sailing person. I've never felt so aggrieved. Ever since meeting Michael and his mother, my grievances have been endless. They want to make me unhappy? I'll make them twice as unhappy.
Fine, I won't argue with you. Let's see who ends up invited for tea. I decided to stop arguing with these shameless people and planned to teach them a proper lesson about the law.
I hung up the phone, copied the surveillance footage, and stormed out. This time, I'll make sure Michael and his mother never recover. The law ultimately stands on the side of justice and will punish those who are guilty. Mrs. Smith fell into the hands of the law. Michael and his mother thought that being stubborn could erase all their wrongdoings, but facts speak louder than words. I handed the surveillance footage directly to the police, and no matter how much they denied it, it was useless. A theft charge was her final destination.
Jesse, can you drop the charges? I'm begging you, my mom didn't mean it, really, you have to believe me.
Looking at the regretful and disheveled man in front of me, crying incessantly, I felt a wave of irritation. His mom was arrested for theft, and Michael kept harassing me with phone calls, asking me to drop the charges. I blocked him, and now he showed up at my door.
Why should I drop the charges? Just because you say it wasn't intentional? Who are you? I gave you a chance yesterday, didn't I? I told you to return it quickly, but you didn't listen and stubbornly denied taking it. What else could I do? I had to let the law decide.
Jesse, please, I'm begging you.
Even though my family is wealthy and our company makes money every day, I'm not a fool. I won't let you two take advantage of me without a fight, so I will definitely pursue the charges to the end. Your mom won't escape.
Making money every day? Didn't your family go bankrupt?
Sorry to disappoint you, but my family never went bankrupt. The rumors were just a test for you. Unfortunately, you failed, so.
I didn't finish, but the meaning was clear, and Michael understood.
You didn't go bankrupt? You spread false rumors. That's not a test. That's deception.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. We have nothing to do with each other now, so get lost and don't show up in front of me again.
I started to show him the door. Michael acted as if he didn't hear me, immediately stepping forward to hold my hand.
Jesse, I'm sorry. Everything that happened before wasn't my true intention. Ever since we broke up, I've been in so much pain, and the reason for that pain is because I still love you.
I looked at him with some disgust and didn't say anything.
Everything that happened before wasn't my intention. I was confused, and my mom forced me. I had no choice but to break up with you. Jesse, please forgive me.
Forgive you for what? I don't want to forgive you.
Forgive me so we can rekindle our relationship. Our breakup was unavoidable. So Jesse, let's get back together.
But I am materialistic and don't like burdens. You're too poor to match me and would only drag me down.
I threw back the words from our wedding day at them.
Now get out, or I'll call the police and you can reunite with your mom.
Michael wanted to say more, but I picked up my phone to call the police. Seeing this, Michael didn't say another word and fled in embarrassment. Watching the man leave, I felt a sense of relief. He wanted to get back together with me, but from the moment he started speaking, I knew his intentions were just to leech off me again. But how could I fall into the same trap twice? His good days ended the day his mom broke off the engagement, and for me, that day marked the beginning of my liberation.